Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Unconventional Mum from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit. And it says, am I the arsehole here for telling husband he can visit his mother for Mother's Day, but not our toddler? My almost 2-year-old had an ileostomy reversal last month. It went well, but the side effects of the surgery is that he has constant bowel movements every 10 to 15 minutes, and due to the fact that he has never used his bum before in the entire 20 months of life, the constant exposure of stool to his skin has caused a severe diaper rash. Up until a week ago, his skin was horrid, but I've perfected my system and have managed to clear 99% of his diaper rash. It's mainly just me changing him the moment he goes and changing his diet / making sure he eats. If he goes more than 2 hours without eating during the day, he gets terrible diarrhea, which makes rash come back full force. In-laws want our son to visit for Mother's Day at mother-in-law's home because they haven't seen him in over a month. I have reservations because the ride there is long and we will have to pull over multiple times to change him. And more importantly, we can't even go to their house because he will not eat there at all and never has. But say he does happen to eat there. Again, has never happened. I don't know why he won't eat at mother-in-law's house either. We will have to bring all of our supplies and I will basically just have him in a room changing him every 10 minutes. Also, sometimes when he goes, he screams in pain and I really don't want to deal with my husband's entire family. They celebrate all mothers in the family, not just mother-in-law, trying to step in and tell me what to do. We can't ease his pain, he just has to pass it. If we go to a restaurant, the same problems arise in a more crowded and louder space. Husband believes son's bowel movements have gotten more steady because his rash is gone, and that means we can start going places. That is not the case. They are still erratic. I just stay on top of everything. It can take months or years to steady. I told him he can visit his family alone, but I could tell it hurt him. My in-laws believe we can go one day with him having diarrhea because I've gotten a handle on how to treat his skin, but I don't want to risk compromising all the progress I've made. I offered them to come to us, living with my rents for right now, but they won't hear it, even though my parents will go to my husband's family's homes for joint celebrations, despite our house being bigger and able to accommodate both families, unlike any of theirs can. I told them if they really wanted to see our son, they would suck it up and come here, but no one has responded. Thank you all for the support. I would love to respond to everyone, but answering comments takes time away from my son and his changes, so I probably won't be responding. An edit. I'd like to clarify that my husband can't help. He's at work and my son will not allow him to change his diapers anyways. He was traumatized with the constant prodding of the doctors at the hospital and only allows me to change him. I won't force my son to be stressed, even if it stresses me. My husband does try on the weekends, but it is extremely upsetting for all three of us. My husband isn't ignoring the issues. He genuinely thinks he's gotten better due to his rash being gone and the fact that his nightly changes went from 9 times to only 1 to 2. Yes! His bowels have steadied at night, but not yet during the day. That will take much longer. Unfortunately, my husband only sees the nights, not days. Someone in the comments mentioned a log, and I will definitely be using that to show him things are not as well as he thinks. Thank you to the commenter who suggested this. I will be updating him constantly because I do spend 80% of my day cleaning up poop. Lol. Also, I never mind seeing our mothers on the day. I just want time for me too, and my husband has to work even on the weekend to support us. We spend a lot of money on my son's supplies, $600 plus a week, and insurance doesn't cover most of the things we actually need. Our rainy day savings of nearly $20,000 drained the first year of our son's life due to his disease before anyone says, why did we have a kid with no money? We had money, we just weren't expecting his disease to burden our son. Opie came up with a reasonable compromise here and was really fair. She didn't say you can't see him ever. She said right now their toddler is still recovering from major surgery and the trip would be miserable for him and stressful for everyone involved. A child screaming in pain every 10 minutes while needing constant diaper changes is not a fun Mother's Day outing, is it? Because honestly, it's Mother's Day for OP too. She's the one spending 80% of her day managing their poor little one who's going through all this, monitoring the food, clearing up the constant bowel movements, and preventing his skin from becoming damaged again. If If I had a family member tell me this or I knew this, I wouldn't be expecting them to be coming round. I'd be trying to help them as much as I can because that's what you do. And I think it's just bloody wild that anyone is expecting anything else. A commenter says to OP, "It is Mother's Day. You are the mum. Whatever you want to do should be respected. Mother-in-law can make a request for Grandparents' Day in September." OP says, "Yeah, Mother's Day has never really been solely just about me, which I don't expect necessarily. His family just does one party for each mother, unfortunately." Nice Cartoonist says, "It's your Mother's Day. Celebrate it with your child however you want. It sounds like you're okay with your husband going to visit his mum for a celebration. Everyone's needs can be met here. The medical issues are valid, but you don't need to explain yourself any further." OP says, "With any other normal family, I would agree, but my in-laws are so invasive. I never wanted them to visit in the hospitals for the surgeries because they would either hound me or the surgeons for answers. It was so draining. I learned after the NICU to just block them out and let my husband deal with their constant need for answers." A commenter says, "Your child's health, happiness, and safety come before your in-laws' desires. You've given two rational options. They can travel to you, or your husband can travel alone to visit them. The only other option would be delaying any celebrations together until your son is truly well enough to travel without instant issues. Also, let's be honest, no reasonable person should want to invite a toddler over who's going to have his diaper changed every 10 to 15 minutes, and you won't get to enjoy anything, on your day no less, as you'll be tied to his care. I would think that, as you're a mother, your wishes would take precedence. Most families I know, the mothers with kids got Mother's Day, while the grandmothers, mothers of adults, got a different day." Opie says, "Yes, this is how my family rolls. My parents never ask us on the actual dates of holidays to see us, always the week before or after. Unfortunately, if my in-laws don't see our son on the actual date, didn't get to celebrate at all. My husband deals with that backlash, I ignore them." Commenter says, "Why can't they come to you?" Opie says, "They're just a little odd with my family. They are Mexican, my family is white and black, so it's always been this straight division sorta. It's odd, only my father-in-law and brother-in-law interact with my family, but the rest of my husband's side avoids being near mine and just stands in a corner, so I highly doubt they would step foot in our house." Another commenter says, "I'm really curious how you're diapering him. Anywhere you go, the cost must be astronomical." OP says, "We go through about 20 to 30 disposable diapers a day. We wanted to try cloth, but our wound care nurse advised against it as they aren't as good as disposables when it comes to wicking away moisture. Plus, I would probably spend 95% of my free time doing laundry if we had cloth, I assume. We're looking to potty train once his bowels steady a bit more though, so hopefully that helps." So OP comes in with what was titled their final update and says, "Firstly, I would like to thank everyone who commented on my previous post and apologize for my lack of responses. I really tried to read everything and reply to questions that were asking for advice about treating diaper rash. If I responded to everyone, my son would have the reddest bum ever. I did not show my husband the post initially because the adult thing for me to do was to talk to him and give him a chance to explain and also hear my opinions. He did not understand why we couldn't just visit his family for only an hour or two. I made sure he understood why. On Saturday, I asked him to take the day off so he could stay home and see how our son acted and all he went through. Nearly 40 diaper changes, the screaming and crying with each bowel move, the lack of personal time or breaks you actually get when taking care of a medically fragile child. I think by noon he understood why we couldn't bring our son to his family. I again asked him if his parents would mind coming to us to meet us at the park behind our home. He told me they would not, no matter how we worded it. No matter what we did, they just don't get it and won't try to. I tried to be understanding because he's always stuck in the middle, but I stood my ground. I wouldn't risk my son's health for their feelings, and I'm not compromising any more than I have already tried. If my in-laws really wanted to see our son, they would drive us to see him. Mother's Day came around and my lovely parents, who we live with, watched our son. He was generous enough to let my mum change him while we went out on a much-needed date. It was the break I needed, and it felt incredible to reconnect with my husband. My husband did eventually go see his family, stayed for an hour or two, and I got to spend the rest of the day with my son. My husband didn't tell me anything that happened when he got back, but I did get a text message from my mother-in-law that read, "Happy Mother's Day, OP. I hope you get everything you wanted." Not sure if it is genuine or a dig, but I said thank you and wished her and her family well. I did eventually show him the post and he apologized for not realizing how he was treating us. He's decided to go to therapy to work on his boundaries with his parents and hopefully to become a better communicator with me. Thank you for reading, and I hope all of you are doing well. Also, if anyone is struggling with curing a diaper rash, don't hesitate to message me. Commenter says, quoting OP, I hope you got everything you wanted, which was what the mother-in-law there said. And the commenter says, what a bitch. The commenter replies to that saying, oh, she 100% meant it as snarky and mean. Glad OP is classy enough to not let it bother her. OP then says, my mum raised me to be nice up front and back away when needed. I do it a lot. I think it drives my mother-in-law insane. I don't blow up. Commenter says, oh, this is fantastic. Please never back down and don't feel bad when you do. Your mum is an absolute blessing. Tell your husband not to forget that one day, never, so that anytime his parents try to pull anything, it will stiffen up his spine. Hope he says will do. He's already starting to notice the difference in how our parents behave. Commenter says it's funny. When you say you couldn't take a trip, my mind immediately thought, wonder what medical issues the baby has. Mainly because I assume mother-in-law's house was far away, and it'd probably take you 5 hours to get there if you had to stop a lot, and would still be miserable because you couldn't enjoy festivities. Then I looked at the link and was like, wow, mother-in-law really has no clue, does she? And why is everything about her? OP replies saying, that's the crazy part. She does know what goes on because she was in on the call when the doctors explained everything that would happen to him for the next couple of months. Commenter says, it makes sense why you're staying home. It makes sense why she's having all her kids and grandkids over. That will be you one day. I'd never ask my mum to come here for Mother's Day. She has 4 other kids and over 30 grandkids going there. It sounds like he has a big family too. I think they don't understand what's happening. I think you're in an exhaustive caregiver role without enough help since his dad didn't even know what a day looked like for you. You're doing a great job. OP says, my son is the only grandchild, and there's only 2 sons in the mix. Last year we did spend Mother's Day at her home, so I'm not opposed to it. But my son had an ostomy bag then, so it was easier to travel. Now it isn't possible safely. They do understand, but because it's going to be at least a year of this, they think it's okay to break safety protocols every once in a while, which I don't agree with. Thank you for the encouragement. And one more commenter says to OP, I'm so glad you're able to get your husband to stay home for a day to see how things really are with your kid. I was worried he wouldn't get it. OP says he definitely noticed. He was incredibly upset over how hurt our son is. He took care of everything he could that day. Now when he comes home, he takes over while I keep our son calm. There seemed to be some glimmers of hope with her husband there, especially now therapy is getting involved. It seemed a little bit encouraging, but at the same time, it was honestly shocking to me that it took this long for him to fully grasp the extent of what his child is going through, what OP is going through. I know he works and only sees nights, but your toddler screaming in pain every 10 to 15 minutes should have been enough for the entire family to stop making Mother's Day demands and start asking, how can we help? And I certainly don't want to skip over the comment that OP made sort of like casually in the middle that husband's side seems to avoid her family because of race and seems to suggest that she highly doubted they would even step foot in their house. Would make me just side-eye that entire side of the family completely anyway. All I can say on the end of this, I really hope that the husband is waking up and relieves some of the pressure that OP and baby is going through at the same time, because it sounds like a really tiring situation at the moment. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit from Otherwise Yam 2623 and says, Am I the Arsehole here for saying no to endless money requests from a distant relative abroad? I try to keep this concise, but there's context needed. I have a distant relative abroad on my father's side of the family, who I've met twice in my entire life, the last time being last year. We're connected on WhatsApp the way you are with distant family, occasional birthdays existing in the background, etc. Nothing more. My family lives in London. Last year, we visited her and her family, including my father's aunts/cousins, etc. We gave a small gift of around £50, 68 USD, roughly, to each person during the visit. Looking back, I think that visit was more of an assessment than a reunion. Shortly after, the messages started. Rapid fire, I need your help, some money, you help me, please reply. The relative in particular told me it was for a lawyer for a house sale. After speaking with my father's brother, who lives in London, I sent approximately £900, 1,224 US dollars, roughly. She promised faithfully to repay it in October when the house was sold. October came and went, nothing, not even acknowledgement. Yes, the house was sold. She asked me not to tell my parents or a specific relatives abroad. I told my parents anyway. Fast forward, she has been sending hello messages every 2 weeks since June last year. Photos of her son, keeping the line warm. It was all calculated groundwork. In February 26, she targeted my elderly uncle in London, a pensioner in his late 60s, asking for £500. She sent a barrage of messages, panicked and deleted it thinking he hadn't seen it. He had on his home screen. She then pivoted to asking if there was a job in London for my husband. My uncle replied politely. That single reply was enough, and she immediately asked for money again, the same £500. She told him not to tell other family members she'd asked. He said no clearly. She said, okay, I'll ask someone else. Within minutes, that someone else was me. She messaged me again recently. Same vague script. I need your help, some money, please last time help me. No amount, no reason, no acknowledgement of the £900 never repaid. Things to note, they sold their home. A WhatsApp photo shows a brand new car and Apple watches. When my uncle said no, she said, I'll ask someone else without any real distress. She's been messaging every 2 weeks since June, photos of her son, casual hellos, all to keep the line warm. She asked both me and my uncle separately not to tell certain family members she'd asked. My uncle and I have been comparing notes the entire time. She has no idea. I've ignored all her recent messages. My uncle and I are completely aligned. My parents know everything. I'm not giving her any more money, but am I the arsehole here for shutting this down completely without explanation? Or should I send a message referencing the unpaid debt first? The reason I ask is because if I explain myself, I feel like I want really to tell her off because it's so unacceptable. My uncle said not to do that as it'd turn into a family situation rather than a simple end to these money requests. Now, she knows exactly what she's doing in this situation. It's a system because she's keeping everyone separated so they're not talking to each other at the same time by asking not to talk to other family members so she can apply pressure on each of these people separately. Like OP said, she's keeping the conversation warm by sending random photos. And again, probably doing that to multiple people at the same time, just circling round. But the fact that she was so blatant, like when the uncle refused and went, okay, I'll ask someone else, I was like, bloody hell. Just straight on to the next target, right? A commenter says to OP, not the arsehole, don't respond. Keep/download the messages as proof and maybe quietly see if she's tried this on other members of the family. OP says, do you know why they want to keep it a secret from others in their country though? Because no one where she lives has that kind of money to give her. Why have I heard time and time again that it must be kept a secret from their own relatives in their own country? Commenter says, not the arsehole, she's an exploiter and you all know it. Replay, I'm still waiting for the £900 repay from October. Until that is repaid, there'll be no more money from me. You're not being mean, you're just defining your boundary. Block her number on the internet, honestly, of vulnerable family members, and then on yours. Opie says, my uncle said even that would create a situation in the family. They will get defensive, given they feel entitled to our money. They, the relatives abroad, think that because we live in the UK, we're living like kings and queens, so why not help them? So my uncle in the UK said to either ignore, block, etc. Whereas I feel like saying what you said above, and then some. Commenter says, not the arsehole. Quotes OP for a section and then says, if your uncle thinks this will cause more problem than it solves, he's probably right. He's had a lot more experience dealing with the family than you have. If you want to blow up the family, you wouldn't necessarily be wrong to do so. She does owe you £900, but since you can't maintain family harmony and tell her off, choose. He's worried not so much that it will cause problems as in a major blow up, but more because he knows that they feel entitled to the money of those in the UK. So he thinks they just won't see it how we do. It'd be like speaking two different languages. I don't think he thinks it'd be a blow up in the family, more that it's best overall to just ignore and block people like this. As in, don't be accessible to them. Whereas for me, it's a matter of justice and wanting to say, this is wrong. You can't treat people like this/this is unacceptable. I also want to see who else she grifted from, since maintaining secrecy was such a big deal for her. A commenter says, not the arsehole, what I don't understand is why you didn't call her out on the money that she still owes you. I would ask how she's enjoying a new car and watches, where you are living now since you sold your house. Let it slip that your relatives are concerned. Don't let her slide, even if you never get the money back. The calls and messages will stop. Opie says, I did at the time of her promising repayment. That house was sold in September 25. We have lots of verified sources / public info to back this up. She promised repayment by October 25. It was only after that time period her WhatsApp pic changed to the watches and car. She said nothing when pressed. So OP did come in with an update and said, here's my previous post if anyone is interested, and shares a link. After that post from a few days ago, I told the person in question no and sent a final text as noted in my previous post. I said no, I sent you £900 last year and you never paid it back. I'm not sending you any more money. Her response, okay, I understand, I've taken financial help from my friend. Okay? This not only doesn't acknowledge what I said, but I think she wants to move on from the topic altogether because she doesn't want the old debt acknowledged. And more importantly to her, she doesn't want this topic to potentially spread. She wants to move swiftly on from it. Also, if she had a friend in her home country that could help her, why harass family in London? It makes no sense. It was all a con. If I had responded, sure, yes, how much do you need? She wouldn't have said, oh, don't worry, a friend helped me out. Thank you to everyone who responded. I greatly appreciate it. The commenter says her responses dodges repayment completely. You did right, cutting off further money. Opie responded saying, my family in London have a theory that the friend doesn't exist and that she made it up to save face because I immediately said no. If I pressed with questions, she would have to divulge details, and I think she got spooked. She wanted someone to say, okay, without even asking what the money was for. Audacity much? Given that she asked my uncle, also in London before, as in a few months ago, and he said no, and how she just stopped talking to him altogether. It confirms it was all just for easy money. Also, if she had this friend all along, why harass family abroad? Let's say she does have this friend. She'd obviously have to pay the friend back, whereas with family, she could justify it and think, they won't miss it, they're in London. That's another theory / option. One more commenter says, don't waste your energy thinking how she got or not the money. Pester her about paying you back. Opie says I did. I asked when she'd be paying me back. After she said a friend helped her, she said, sorry, I thought you helped me, meaning I think she was implying that she felt she didn't need to pay me back. Luckily, the messages were still there if you scrolled up. I went to look for them, only to see she had deleted them for everyone, which you can do on WhatsApp. Luckily, I had screenshots already prior to her deleting them in my phone camera roll in which she said she'd pay me back last year, so I sent them to her. She wrote back, oh, yeah, right. I wrote back, so? And she never replied to that. I was really hoping that Opie was going to get some portion of the money back, but in the end, I'm not surprised she didn't. And the best thing to do is just cut them off, because otherwise they will keep coming back time and time again, trying to worm their way in to get some more money out of you. And nobody got time for that. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Our next story comes from the relationship advice subreddit and says, my 25 female, fiance 26 male is always helping out his mum, and I'm worried we won't be able to build a good life together. Important context. Both me and my fiance come from low income families, and both of us are working hard to improve our lives. On my side, I secured myself a good job, and now I'm back to study to improve my job opportunities. On his side, he has a lower income than me, but he takes a lot of extra shifts on nighttime and weekends and ends up working more than me. The thing is, his mum is also a low income worker, but she lives quite above her means. We're talking about vacations on luxury resorts every 1 or 2 years, buying a lot of clothes, taking loans with high interest rates to buy herself things that she doesn't need, etc. In my country, when you get married, everything is separated. Each one keeps their own money. So what we decided in the beginning is that we set up a joint bank account for savings, everyday purchases, and common expenses. In my mind, that was fine. We talked about the type of lifestyle we wanted, make a budget, and with the rest of the money, each one does what they see fit. If he has to help out his mum, that's on him. But as the wedding date is approaching, I have more and more doubts. First one is right now he has a high salary because he takes on night and weekend shifts. But we're getting older, and I'm not sure for how long he'll keep this up. He's not saving the extra money he makes because he's giving it to his mum. So I'm thinking about what will happen when he's 40 and he can't keep up with all the working hours. He's also against what his mother is doing, and I mean all the trips, the luxury, etc. A lot of times he refuses to give her money, but she ends up convincing him. And I just don't know how this will go on and what will happen when he doesn't have so much disposable income. Right now, he lives with his half-brother from father's side and pays a very small amount of money as rent. Once we move together, he'll have to pay real bills and rent. Not sure how he'll feel about sending money to his mum when he won't have much left for himself. I'm not sure how this dynamic will go and if I'll be caught in between. Basically, I'm afraid of him helping out his mum so much will affect our own lifestyle and our relationship in a general way. How do I deal with the dynamic between my fiance and mum so it doesn't affect our marriage? Now, obviously, a conversation definitely needs to happen before you get married, and you need to be on the same side or it's just not going to work, because at the moment, he's simply enabling mum's bad financial decisions. If his mum was struggling because of medical bills, job loss, or going through something really bad, I get it. But instead we're here talking about luxury resorts, seems unnecessary shopping and high interest loans for wants instead of actual needs. And right now, he seems to be coping with it with overworking himself to pay for all this, but I hope he's right. What happens when future decisions, they have kids, a mortgage, health issues, or he simply burns out? Because eventually, it won't be sustainable. And I think if you married into this, you would resent it in the end. But Commodore says, if you don't like how he handles his finances, don't marry him. Commodore says, certainly this. Suggesting 40 is old. For him to work as hard past that made me chuckle. My goodness. Hoopy replied saying, my father used to work on a factory and he always told me your body is fine until you turn 40. That's when everything comes at you. Everything starts hurting. You start feeling tired. Waking up to work becomes harder, etc. He always insisted on me and my siblings to get office jobs or something that doesn't require physical strength. That's why I said specifically 40 years old. Commodore replies saying, you're not the most important woman in his life. He's showing you who he is. You can accept this or move on. But people are not projects for you to work on. You're choosing this for yourself. OP does come in with their update and says, I'm not engaged anymore. My ex-mother-in-law is currently vacationing on the Amalfi Coast. Just 4 days ago, she was calling her son to beg for money to pay rent. She owes 3 months already. He's obviously paid. They got in an argument when he saw she was traveling, and I decided I don't want to be a part of this. I've saved so much, didn't give myself luxuries to be able to build myself a better lifestyle as I'm getting older. He seemed to be on the same page, and technically he is. He doesn't indulge on himself, but what's the point when he's spending all his savings on his mum? I sat down and asked him, if we're living together, how would he do it? Would he pay 3 months of his mother's rent and half his own rent with his salary? He said that he wouldn't have paid if he knew she was traveling, and that he thought she would be evicted. I was like, I'm not asking why you did it. I'm asking how you would do it if we're living together. Right now, he lives with his brother and pays a small amount of rent and nothing on food. But if we're living together, he'd have real bills and expenses. There's no way he can keep up with that while still paying for his mum. Also, I realized I don't want to be the reason he changes his relationship with his mum. I don't want to be blamed or get in between them. I'd rather just be with someone who has a normal family dynamic. Commodore says, is just the engagement off or also the relationship? Also, great decision. Opie says relationship. I don't see it working, and I don't want to be the evil daughter-in-law that gets between mum and her boy. Commodore says, it is refreshing to see a wise OP, because this, my dear, don't want to be the evil daughter-in-law that gets between mum and her boy, would have become your reality. Every time you would force him to compromise, he would throw at you that he sacrificed his mum for you, at least judging by my parents' marriage. You know what, fair play to this, just absolutely spotted that storm in the distance and was like, nah, fuck that, I'm not sailing into that. Turned the ship around and went off into the sunset. Don't blame her one bit, but what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much, and hopefully I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.